Hello, Epic Hero. My name is Hope Pennington and I exist. Okay, in order to tell the story, I'm going to have to back it up several years. So, depending on how familiar or unfamiliar you are with my whole family, you may or may not know that when me and some of my siblings were born, we were all born at home, and some of us don't have birth certificates. We never got birth certificates when we were born, and we didn't get social security numbers. Not all of us, just some of us. And it's none of your business who, so if you're going to ask that question, don't worry about it. Some of us didn't have them. Which, needless to say, made things really difficult as we got older. As you've been maybe watching on my YouTube channel, if you've seen some of my other videos, you may have seen that I've moved recently several times. I've kind of been moving around. It's probably been a little confusing. I've been from like one job to another job, never really clear about where I was working. The thing about not having a social security number or a birth certificate is that you can't really legally get a job. You can't really get an apartment either. So I didn't want to wait around, I guess you could say. I didn't want to wait for my documentation, my papers, my birth certificate, my social security number that it felt like at the time I was never going to get in order to go follow my dreams and do what I wanted to do. I didn't go to college either, so I felt like I hadn't really gotten the experience to move out, to be on my own, to then grow into myself and figure out what it meant to be me, figure out what I thought about things, sort of become fully me. So I made the decision to go ahead and move out. First, I went on a trip with Alexis, my friend, and that was the first time I'd ever traveled alone. She and I took different flights, so it was the first time I'd ever traveled without any members of my family. And it was a huge step for me. It was amazing. I had an amazing time. And then when we got back, she and I decided that I could move in with her. She decided that I could move in with her, which was going to be awesome. Like I said, I had never lived away from home before. Never even stayed in somewhere in a place without any members of my family before. So this was going to be amazing. Now, because I didn't have my social security number, I couldn't technically rent an apartment. She's letting me stay with her and just pay her cash, but I couldn't really stay there for a longer period of time according to the apartment's rules. So there was that to deal with. But as far as a job, she was working with people that knew her, that knew me, and they were going to let me work for them. Lo and behold, time goes on, I move out, that job that I had with her falls through. So I start scrambling for any way that I can make the money to pay for my apartment, for my part of her apartment, and to pick up social media marketing. I started doing social media, running the Instagrams, Twitters, and Facebooks of friends that I have that are artists who make movies, who write books, who have independent publishing, help, websites, and things like that. And I started doing that for just enough money to be able to pay for my half of the apartment and maintain that. And we didn't even have any Wi-Fi, which I think I mentioned in some of those videos. So I had to go to McDonald's pretty much every day and buy a little thing. You know, they have cheap stuff there to be able to use their Wi-Fi, to be able to do my work, to be able to pay for just barely pay for the apartment and all that. Time goes by. At the time, I am in a long-distance relationship with a very good friend of mine, and he and I start becoming more than friends. We started dating online, long distance, and really liked where it was going, but we wanted to be in person, to date in person. He lived in Washington. So I wanted to go visit him. Again, without a social security number and a birth certificate, it's tricky to fly. Okay? Now that might sound kind of funny because I've flown several times in the past 2 years or 3 or 4 years or whatever. But what I have to do is I have to show them all this extra identification, credit card, Costco card, all those types of things. And then even after that, they have to search my luggage, pat me down, all that, make sure that I don't have anything, weapons or anything like that I have to go through every time. And each time I'm not sure if this time is always a risk. Are they going to let me through? Are they not? Kind of up to the discretion of the person at the desk. All aside, I fly to meet Jeremiah. I really loved the visit. It was awesome. I loved Washington, beautiful trees, beautiful environment. And after a while, I decided that, yeah, I really want to spend more time with him. He and I want to date in person, so I'm going to go up there and spend more time with him in person. I'll go ahead and say we broke off the relationship and went back to being just friends. I haven't announced that on the channel before, I don't think, but that's what we decided. We're friends now. It's mutual. It's all good. No drama. But at the time, I wanted to date in person, so I wanted to go up to Washington, live up there for a little while, and date him. Now, several people were cautioning me that this was not a good idea, considering I didn't have a license, or I didn't have a driver's license, obviously didn't have a car, didn't have a way to get a job, didn't have a way to have identification, but I guess I was just, and they were right, it was really hard being up there without all that stuff. I had a family to stay with, but then that fell through, and then I just had to stay on people's couches and go where I could, not being able to just get an apartment, not being able to just get a job to be able to pay for an apartment because people won't hire me because they don't have a SSN, feeling stuck, feeling trapped, feeling like I have to get people to drive me everywhere, I have to drag down other people, and not being able to fix that for myself, to be able to have that freedom of being self-sufficient at all. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor me, blah, 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 but I'm just trying to put things from my perspective. And it was a very hard time, which I'm trying to explore this relationship with my then boyfriend, and we barely have any time considering all the stress of trying to figure out this situation. Anyway, so he and I are trying to figure out my social security and my birth certificate. My parents are trying to figure out my social security and my birth certificate documentation back here in Texas. So I ended up having to come back to Texas so that we can work on my driver's permit here. That can help me with identification. That can help me get a social security number. So I come back to Texas. But by this point, like I said, I don't regret doing any of that stuff because I feel like it helped me become to myself. And Jeremiah was another one of my friends that really encouraged me to, I guess, explore myself, explore what I truly believed, explore who I truly was, and help me realize more of what I actually believed, what I actually thought. I finally felt like I had the space, sort of think things through in some ways. But since coming back, and we ended up breaking off the relationship, and I ended up figuring out that I was an atheist. When I came back to my parents' house, they didn't have a room ready for me or anything. They weren't expecting me back at that time. So I was just, sort of staying in the loft area. And I hadn't been alone for over 2 months, not even in a room alone for over 2 months, because I had to sleep on the couch, people's house, or just go. Jeremiah had to go to work. He would drop me off at Starbucks, and I'd just be there all day from sun up to sundown, or sometimes later if he left. And I didn't have it, and Starbucks closed. I'd have to walk over to the grocery store and wait for him. Just people all the time. And if you're an introvert or an ambivert, you understand how hard it can be to not ever, for over 2 months, be able to be in a room alone besides the bathroom that other people need. You gotta get out. So I just kept feeling the whole time I just want a door to close. I just want a door that I can close. And feeling really guilty about that, feeling oh, what a privileged person that you are. You think you have to have this alone time. You just don't. You don't have to have your own room. You're just wanting it so bad, and feeling like I couldn't think and all that. But you know what? If you're an introvert, sometimes you just do need to be alone. That's nothing to feel guilty about, okay? you're an introvert. Sometimes you just need to be alone. Even if you're an extrovert, sometimes you just need to be alone. So yeah, come back to Texas. After I was starting to feel really depressed, besides the new religious views or lack thereof, and the breakup, and not having a place to stay, feeling stuck, feeling like we sent off to get a copy of my delayed birth certificate, which my dad had gotten for me a little bit ago, and it was not coming for over a month. I was having all that stuff to deal with, and I started getting pretty depressed. I haven't really talked about this stuff on my channel before because I didn't want to sound like I was whining and complaining about my situation, but it was really hard. I feel like I can say that now because thankfully I'm through the worst of it. And oh crap. I feel silly for wanting these things so bad. I felt like sometimes that I would just have to be satisfied with just not having an identity, without just not having a way to be free, self-sufficient, able to get another place, my own place if I wanted, able to get a job and support myself and all that, able to go out and experience things, I felt like I couldn't. But happy ending. In the last week, my mom and dad and family have let me stay in this room in the guest house that they've cleaned up and cleaned out, which just feels like heaven to me. I want to tell you, last night, the first night I slept in here, I just laid back, closed my eyes, and I could just drink in the stillness. It's just, I've been dreaming about it for so long. Your perspective changes when you just can't get your own room. You can't get a room to yourself. I don't know. I don't know why I needed it so desperately. I don't know why I felt like I needed it so desperately. But here it is, and I'm so happy about it. And doubly awesome, I just got my learner's permit. They sent my birth certificate in the mail to me. I have a copy now, and I have my learner's permit for driving, which means I'm like this close to getting my social security, and then I'll just have an ID. I'll just be able to get any job, like whatever job that I am qualified for. If I work hard enough, I'll be able to do it, and I will be able to get an apartment if I want. I'll be able to get a car if I want. I'll be able to drive places, not have other people have to rely on other people for that. Just things that I felt like would never happen. And kind of like in one day, it was just like, oh yeah, you have this room. Here is, your birth certificate came. Go up, here's your permit, here's your lessons. And I did my first driving lesson today. And there you go. I have space. I have space to set on my drawing stuff like I wanted to draw, but I didn't even have a table to work on for months or more than years, I think. Not alone anyway, which for some reason seems like the only way I can focus. I have a table to at least set out and leave out my drawing stuff. I have Wi-Fi. Yay for Wi-Fi! You don't have to go to Starbucks. I was spending all my money while I was in Washington on buying something at a coffee shop so I could go there, use their Wi-Fi, and stay there for the day where it was relatively peaceful. And now I'm here. Things are so looking up. I just can't describe to you how happy I am about having my own room, having this prospect, being on this road to something that I was beginning to think would never happen. If you are feeling stuck in any way right now, please know and believe that it's only temporary. If you are taking the steps to go somewhere else, I know it can just feel miserable. Like you're never gonna get there. But you will get there, okay? Just keep staying calm. Be forgiving of yourself, and you will get better. You will get to be where you want to be. what can I say besides just stay true to yourself, be forgiving of yourself, and trust that you can get there, no matter what bad situation you're in, no matter how stuck you feel. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Hooray! And I guess I'll see you guys next time.